What was supposed to be another fever sky game turned into one of the strangest nights of the WNBA season. And it started with one transition play that nobody in the building could ignore. Sophie Cunningham had a clear path to the basket. The defense was behind her, and the play looked like it was headed toward an easy 2 points. Then DiJonai Carrington came flying in from behind. The contact sent Cunningham down. The officials immediately reviewed it, and within moments Carrington was gone with a flagrant 2. But the ejection was only the first chapter. What happened afterward pulled Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Carrington, the Fever, the Sky, and the WNBA itself into a controversy that kept growing long after the final buzzer. Because while one side of the story was happening on the court, another one was exploding online. And by the time Indiana walked out of the building with a 90-86 victory, the biggest question wasn't even who won the game. It was what the league was going to do next. The play itself happened quickly, which is part of why the replay became so important. Cunningham got out in transition, with open space ahead of her, and went up for the layup. Carrington was chasing from behind, trying to make something happen before Cunningham could finish. Instead of a clean contest, Carrington made heavy contact high on Cunningham's body. The officials stopped play, looked at the sequence, and decided the contact crossed the line into a flagrant 2. That distinction matters. A flagrant 2 isn't simply the league saying a foul looked rough. It's the category used for contact judged unnecessary and excessive, and the penalty is immediate disqualification. In other words, once the officials reached that decision, Carrington's night was over. There was no argument about whether she could stay in the game. She was headed to the locker room, and that is where the first strange moment happened. This wasn't just any arena. It was Chicago's home floor. You would expect the crowd to back the Sky player who had just been ejected, or at least remain neutral. Instead, as Carrington headed toward the tunnel, the building erupted with chants for Sophie Cunningham. Think about how unusual that is. A visiting player had just been involved in a controversial play against the home team, and the home crowd was loudly backing her. That reaction doesn't prove anything about Carrington's intentions, but it shows just how strongly the moment landed with people watching it live. The play looked bad enough to turn the atmosphere against the player who committed it. Even inside her own team's building, Cunningham didn't exactly make the moment disappear either. She got up, reacted immediately, and then went on with the game. The important part was that she wasn't knocked out of the possession, mentally or physically. She finished the play, and Indiana kept moving. That became a theme of the night. Every time the game threatened to become about the confrontation, what was supposed to be another Caitlin Clark game turned into one of the wildest nights of the WNBA season. Sophie Cunningham was running alone toward the basket when DiJonai Carrington came flying in from behind. One hard hit later, Cunningham was on the floor. Carrington was heading to the locker room with a flagrant 2. And somehow the Chicago crowd started chanting Sophie's name. But that was only the beginning, because minutes later, Carrington went on social media and posted "white privilege," tagging the Indiana Fever account. Then came another post referencing August 23rd, the date the two teams are scheduled to meet again. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a controversial foul. It became a story about race, social media, player rivalries, and what the WNBA might do next. And while all of that was happening, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and the Fever were quietly doing something that might matter even more. They were winning. The play itself happened in the first quarter. Sophie Cunningham got loose on a fast break with open space in front of her. It looked like a routine opportunity. She went up for the layup, and Carrington chased her down from behind. Then came the contact. Carrington's arm came across Cunningham as she was going up, and Cunningham went down hard. The officials immediately stopped the game and went to review the play. They weren't treating it like an ordinary defensive foul. After looking at the replay, the officials ruled it a flagrant 2. That meant Carrington was automatically ejected, and the reason was obvious. The officials determined the contact was unnecessary and excessive, particularly because Cunningham was in a vulnerable position during the layup. Now, people can debate intent all day. Maybe Carrington was trying to prevent an easy basket. Maybe she believed she could make a legitimate play on the ball. But intent isn't the only thing officials consider. The actual contact matters too. And in this case, the officials decided Carrington crossed that line. Then something happened that nobody expected. As Carrington walked toward the tunnel, the United Center crowd started chanting for Sophie Cunningham. Think about that. This was Chicago's home arena. These were supposed to be Sky fans. Yet the crowd was backing the player who had just been hit. That reaction doesn't prove what Carrington intended, but it shows how strongly the play looked to people inside the building. Even the home crowd seemed to think the moment had gone too far. And Cunningham wasn't finished either, because while the ejection was already becoming one of the biggest moments of the game, another controversy was waiting in the locker room. Carrington went online. She posted the words, "white privilege," and tagged the Indiana Fever. Almost immediately, screenshots started spreading across social media. And that's when the conversation changed completely. Up until that point, fans could argue about basketball, was